Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a short little knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the PMP Alpha Beast Gen 2. Now, the reason I say it's going to be a short review is because this is essentially the same thing as the Gen 1, outside of a couple of differences. I will link this knife right down in the description. Be warned, it is very expensive. We're going to talk about that, believe me. This is a weird knife, right? I'm going about this pretty casually. I'm aware that this is an absurd knife, and we're going to talk about it. But I'll link this down in the description. It is available in a bunch of different configurations. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks so much to PMP for sending this in. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Let's get through specs very quickly so that I can talk about the differences between the Gen 1 and the Gen 2. So the overall length here is coming in at 9 inches. Blade length is coming in at 4 inches. And the cutting edge is coming in at 3.75. Let's do some size comparisons. How is it up against the gigantic and hulking Cold Steel 8010? Wow. This is a big knife. And I think people don't understand that until they get it in their hand. So up against the 8010 and this is the Hogue Deca. What am I doing? Up against the 8010 and the 8020.5. Any custom scales you see in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and others. It's huge, and not just this way, but this way. The 8010 is what a lot of people would call a thick knife. Not up against the Alpha Beast. This knife is much bigger, right? But the Cold Steel Triad look is a lot stronger. Thank you. Thanks for that. We know. Let's go ahead and put it up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3. Still big. Last but not least, let's put it up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue and the Hogue Deca. It's huge. Okay, how's the action? Well, it's great because the blade is gigantic, but seriously, watch your fingers. You know, people joke the knife is so thick it probably can't even cut. Well, just like the original Alpha Beast, that's not true. It actually is sharp enough to slice, believe it or not. Now it doesn't slice very well, but it does. Now, the more dense the material you cut, that doesn't prove anything. So, yeah, the more dense the material you cut, the more, drag it's going to create, cardboard, wood especially. Yeah, it's going to slow you down, right? If you're cutting a huge block of styrofoam, this is about the dumbest thing you could use. This is a dumb object. If you're not sure if I know yet, if you're like, I don't know, I better stick around and make sure that Metal Complex knows that this is an impractical tool. I know. I'm well aware, right? The idea behind this, the reason that this was made, was not, for tomfoolery or trickery. They're not trying to bamboozle people into believing that this is somehow a stronger or better tool in any situation. The reason that this exists, here, I'll do my impression of PMP coming up with this. Haha, thick knife funny. Thick knife funny, make thick knife. People, haha, with us. Haha. That is quite literally the entire idea behind this knife. It is no more complicated than that. Yeah, the blade is thick enough. If you keep your finger in the way, it's going to come down, and it's going to come down with enough force to give you a nasty cut. So the action is smooth, but it's more like heavy smooth. Well, actually, it is decently smooth as well, but I think it's more the weight, right? Surprisingly, this is an easy knife to manipulate, and it's because they chose to put the appropriate size of thumb studs on this thing. The detent is actually pretty strong. I'm seeing it. I must have flipped this thing enough that it's coming off center. Or wait, is it off center? What's happening here? This is some sort of optical illusion. I don't know. We'll check centering at the end. That's weird. Yeah, it's actually got a strong detent, but it feels loosey-goosey because the thing is so big. But the detent is actually quite good to the point where you can reverse flick it and you can thumb flick it. Now, the blade is also so heavy that you can obviously do this and whip it out. I can do that with pretty much anything. My XM24 has an incredibly heavy detent, and I can do it with that knife too. So don't worry about that. But yeah, that can happen. The action, I think, is good for as big of an object as it is. Disengagement of the lock bar is also easier than you might expect. But compared to a normal knife, no, it's not. Obviously, you have your whole hand has to adjust to accommodate for this completely different. It's so big that unless you're just used to other massively overbuilt knives, it's hard because there's nothing else in the production knife market that's this thick. It's going to be weird. It's just factually going to be weird. Should we do carry profile? All right, here it is up against the Spyderco Para 3. Good Lord, I can almost fit the Para 3 inside the scales here. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. It ain't going to be comfortable. You can pretend all you want. This is going to pull your pants down. Wear a belt. If you really, really want to carry this, it will go in your pocket probably. But it will not be comfortable, and it will not be something that is easy to get used to, and you will have to dedicate to it for the whole day. So think about it before you do it, right? But if you really want to, then yeah, it's got a pocket clip, so knock yourself out. Don't. You literally can knock yourself out with this, so don't throw it up in the air and try to catch it. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I'll get out my tools. As per usual, my tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. This is a T10. We're going to use that for the pivot. Surprisingly, they have chosen T8 for everything else, which is fine. It just looks a little bit silly. All the screws are so tiny that it almost looks like they're using a T5 or a T6 or something like that. But no, they're all T8, some of the body screws. And honestly, it's a really simple construction. There's just a few screws holding everything in. It'll be very easy to take apart and put back together. Anyways, whoops. Let's go ahead and measure the blade stock thickness in case you didn't know exactly how thick this was. Yes, it is thicker than the Medford Praetorian tie. Yes, I know the difference between the Medford Praetorian tie and the Praetorian T. This is substantially thicker than that. The overall thickness of this blade is, look at that. I think it says 397 thousandths. That's a thick blade. We're coming up on half an inch there. All right. Oh yeah, weight. Should we weigh it? Does it still weigh over a pound? Yeah, I haven't even weighed this one yet, and I can tell you it definitely does. Yeah, 16.3 ounces. I think that's almost exactly what the other one weighed. Okay, meat and potatoes time. What is different? Number one, I looked at your link, and that's $800. Price gouge it. Well, okay, I don't necessarily agree with the price tag, but one of the big differences here is who made it. Last time, it was made by Riot, which is in China. The blade was also made of D2 steel. Nothing against D2, but nobody really wanted to see it there. It's a big knife. It's a lot of material, right? And it's made by Riot. So that one was $500. This time around, it is made by Fox Knives in Italy. And if you are not familiar with Italy, it is in fact not China. It costs a lot more to make something there. So they also did this one in Magna Cut. These are limited, so once they're gone, they're gone. This is 175 piece run. This is number 35. But yeah, this guy's in Magna Cut, which is much more expensive than D2. That's part of the reason why it's so much more expensive. The problem is it's so expensive now that it kind of is in a weird spot. Everybody was like, okay, not everybody. People who like overbuilt knives. If this is a confusing object to you and you're like, what? If the people who are buying it know that it's not functional, then why are they buying it? There are a bunch of people in the knife world who, they like all different types of knives. I'm one of them, right? Here's my perspective. I like all different types of knives. I collect all different types of knives. I use a lot of my knives. I've got knives that are safe queens that I don't use, right? I'm just like a knife collector, and I like different designs. Big, heavy, overbuilt knives, like big, stupid, chunky, thick knives, are in a category of their own for me, and they're fun because they're stupid. That's literally it. I just get enjoyment out of something that is so not supposed to be this thick, but it is anyway, right? Here it is. It's sitting here, and it knows that everyone's like, you're not supposed to be that thick. And the Alpha Beast is like, I know, but here I am anyway. Like, it's just funny. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. So everybody, you know, everybody who liked overbuilt knives was like, wow, the Alpha Beast is a crazy, like, we as the overbuilt knife community, we think this is really cool. But, and it's so cool, it's made by Riyadh, but it's D2. Right? And we can't get that part of our brains fixed, where we forget for a moment, it doesn't matter what the blade steel is, because it's so thick that there's no blade steel that's necessarily going to be accentuated. Like, the composition is not going to properly be accentuated in any case. They could have made this out of HCR 13 MOV, and it probably wouldn't have performed that much better, right? I mean, in any situation, it's going to perform poorly. So people go, oh, D2. Why not something cool? We want our useless sharpened wedges to be made out of premium steel that is definitely made to be, you know, it was created with the idea that the blade would be of reasonable geometry. So he said, make it premium. Okay, how about Magna Cut? And we're going to make it in Italy this time. So the price just became absurd. I think that's why these are still floating around, right? I mean, it's $800. $800. Do I understand why the price went up? Yeah. Do I agree with the price tag? No. I didn't agree with the first one being $500, right? I think it would have made much more sense at about $350. Even if we subtracted $150 from this price tag, does it make sense there, right? And I'm sure I could hear PMP going, well, but what do you want us to do? Like this, it's not cheap to make this object. This just ends up being an object that not very many people want to begin with because it is a ridiculous object. And even fewer people want it because of the price, right? So it's almost like this is a perfect example of what happens when you listen to the knife community a little bit too hard. It's like there are a lot of people demanding things that they don't actually even want, especially when they find out how expensive it is. So we can't always listen to to people saying, not D2, it needs to be premium at that price. Like, here's an example of where that doesn't work out because it's $800. It's cool. And listen, if you have $800 specifically budgeted for a huge overbuilt knife, and you just love the aesthetic of the PMP Alpha Beast specifically, and Magna Cut is your favorite thing in the whole world, well then, by golly, have I got a knife for you. This is the knife for you. I could not recommend this more. There's literally nothing else in the knife market that will make you happier than this. And for you, and specifically you, this is the best thing you can buy. For literally everybody else on the planet, no. This is crazy. I got this for free. I got it for free. I know there are people out there who say, if Metal Complex gets an expensive knife for free, of course he's going to give it a positive review. The only time he's not going to do that is if he can't provide an affiliate link, because then he can't make any money. Guess what? I got this for free, and if you buy this with the link down in the description, I will make a lot of money. The commission on this knife is crazy because it's an $800 knife. So I stand to make a lot if I say nice things and tell you to go buy it. This is me directly telling you that I do not recommend that you buy this. This is a silly purchase. You only want to buy this if it is specifically your thing. And you have budgeted $800 for specifically this, right? So please remember that. This is the same with all of my content. If you're confused about it or you didn't know, here's an example. I do appreciate the knife. I appreciate them sending it to me. But it's absurd. I have to be honest, right? There is now a pattern here. If you want it, you can get the diagonal pattern. or you can get it plain. You can get this in all black. You can get it stonewashed. You can get it bronze. I think they even have blue. They even have a Damasteel one for $1,800. Right now, mine here. I thought I had it out on the table. Apparently, I didn't. This was one of the 5 original PMP Alpha Beasts in Damasteel. Like I said, the standard version of the original was made out of D2. This is one of 5 that exists in Damasteel, made by Riot, that has the Mogatai clip. I think these were $2,500. So technically, the most absurd, most expensive version of this knife is this one right here. But these no longer exist. They're gone. I don't know who owns the other 4. I think Jim Skelton owns one. I don't know about the others. Really, there's not much of a difference here. The pocket clip angle is slightly different. You can see here this one goes this way. This one kind of goes this way. The pivots are a little bit different. You can see here, little pivot texturing is just a little bit different. Now, Riot does a better cutting bevel. This is perfectly even on both sides. Fox, it's okay. Not perfect, but it's okay. Outside of that, seriously, I think they are actually identical. I don't notice that there's a little bit higher polish on the stop pin on the Riot one. You know what? I think they might have actually made the stop pin bigger. Did they? Did they make the stop pin thicker? Yeah, they did. The stop pin on the Fox version is slight. Is it? Or is that my imagination? Let's whisper. I think the stop pin on the Fox is slightly bigger. Gotta be careful. I don't want to chop my fingers off. The action is exactly the same. The detent is exactly the same. I don't know about the standard tumbled finish because this one is tumbled. The one that I have, the other one that I had, now belongs to my brother. The edges of the lanyard hole are chamfered now, whereas on the old one, they are not. The back spacers are the same. Oh no, I'm sorry. The new one does not have chamfered edges. The old one has chamfered edges on the inside of the lanyard hole. Bummer for lanyard people, but okay. Boy, yeah. The polish on the hardware from Riot looks a little bit nicer. These are sunk in a little bit, and it's just more plain, I guess. But no real major things, right? It's just the new one is a lot more expensive. Can you touch the blade in the closed position? Of course you can. Look at this. That was the same on the old one, right? Same thing. Yeah. Lockup, it's completely and totally. So that's not going anywhere. There's no way. You'd have to be doing something you're not supposed to do with a knife. Centering. I keep thinking that it's off, but it looks on. I think it's probably slightly off from me playing with it. I wonder if my Riot one is like that. It looks like maybe it's hanging slightly to one side too, but again, I take this out and flip it all the time. Most likely a turn of the pivot, but this didn't end up being a quick review, did it? It ended up being a long, sarcastic... It is what it is. It is a fun thing to hold. It is the best knife for impressing your friends. Or for showing... If you have a knife buddy who thinks that they've seen everything, right? Oftentimes this is the type of thing, right, where you can say... Or, you know, if you got that guy at work that's got like the weird... You know, he's got some oversized Gerber in his pocket. And he's like, no, this here's a knife. And he makes up a bunch of crap about it being like a military issue, this or that. Bring this in. Bring this in and just watch his face. It's funny. Or people who like to, you know, enjoy pocket knives. They just like to see different things. I got so many people that I, let come over and kind of look through my collection. This knife, they always stop and look at this. Always. They always got to pick it up and go, what is this? I've never seen anything like it. And that's what makes it fun, right? If you make a crazy purchase, the best outcome of that crazy purchase is sharing the enjoyment from somebody else who kind of gets it, right? That's one of those things. And for some people, that's enough. That's where the value is, right? But if you're not into that, then obviously, no, it's not for you. This is It's just a big, silly, goofy knife. That's it. That's all I've got to say. It will not make a practical tool. You are not buying something that is enough more durable to justify carrying it over a regular pocket knife. It will do everything a normal knife can do, but much, much worse and in a much less convenient way. That is my honest review of the PMP Alpha Beast Gen 2. What an absolute monster. That's going to be pretty much it today, guys. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.